do the work for us behind the scenes every day. It truly takes a village.
All right, and that one, we'll get started. We'll go to Nathan Liu.
Amber, with the status of labor talks with so many free agents, with an expansion draft, do you have any idea what this offseason might even look like? And if you don't, how do you kind of...
What if I told you the Indiana Fever's 2026 roster has already been secretly planned, and it's unlike anything the WNBA has ever seen? Whispers have turned into a thunderous roar, all because of an alleged leak from inside the Fever organization revealing a super team so stacked it threatens to shatter the league's landscape. This isn't just about building around Caitlin Clark. It's about assembling a dynasty through audacious, almost unbelievable moves that were never meant to see the light of day. But before we dive into the specifics, we need to understand the context. The WNBA has never witnessed anything like this. Not the Mercury's dominance in the 2000s, not the Sparks championship runs, not even the recent dynasty attempts by Las Vegas or Seattle. What the Fever are allegedly planning goes beyond traditional team building. It's a complete reimagining of what's possible within the league structure, a gamble so massive it could either cement their legacy forever or become the most spectacular failure in professional basketball history. For years, the Fever faithful yearned for a true contender. The franchise, once home to legends like Tamika Catchings, had fallen on hard times. Season after season of disappointment, missed playoffs, and watching other teams celebrate championships created a hunger in Indianapolis that was palpable. The fan base, once among the most passionate in the league, had dwindled. Attendance numbers dropped. The organization stood at a crossroads: rebuild slowly and methodically, or swing for the fences. The arrival of Caitlin Clark brought unprecedented hype, selling out arenas across the country and drawing media attention the Fever hadn't seen in over a decade. Clark's rookie season exceeded even the most optimistic projections. Her logo threes, no-look passes, and relentless competitive fire ignited not just Indianapolis, but basketball fans worldwide. Merchandise sales skyrocketed. Television ratings for Fever games tripled. The Clark effect was real, tangible, transformative, and electric. But behind the scenes, something far more ambitious was brewing. A clandestine operation, a blueprint for dominance meticulously crafted by the Fever's front office. A plan designed to ensure not just one championship, but an era of undisputed reign. The goal wasn't simply to support Clark, it was to create an unguardable, unstoppable force. And the first piece of this shocking puzzle involves a name that will leave many scratching their heads in disbelief. Imagine Sophie Cunningham, known for her relentless hustle and clutch shooting, not as a complementary piece, but as a foundational cornerstone. The leaked documents suggest a brazen pursuit of Cunningham in 2026 free agency, aiming to pair her sharp shooting and defensive tenacity directly with Clark's playmaking. This isn't just a smart signing. It's a strategic masterstroke designed to unlock new dimensions for the Fever, creating a backcourt synergy that could redefine WNBA offenses. Cunningham's career trajectory makes her the perfect target. A proven winner with Phoenix, she's evolved into one of the league's most reliable three-point threats while maintaining an edge that intimidates opponents. Her grit and experience would be the perfect counterpoint to Clark's dazzling creativity, forming a formidable duo. But there's more to this signing than just basketball fit. According to the leaked documents, the Fever have been quietly cultivating a relationship with Cunningham's representation for over 18 months. Secret meetings in neutral cities, casual dinners that appeared coincidental, even strategic social media interactions designed to plant seeds. The courtship was so subtle, so professionally executed, that Phoenix's front office apparently had no idea they were in danger of losing one of their key contributors. The financial package allegedly offered to Cunningham is eye-watering, a max contract extension that would make her one of the highest-paid guards in the league. But the Fever sweetened the deal with something even more valuable, a promise of legacy. They sold her on the vision of being the Robin to Clark's Batman, the Pippen to her Jordan, the Klay Thompson to her Steph Curry. They promised championships, plural, and painted a picture of a dynasty where her role would be immortalized in WNBA history. The signing would also send shockwaves through the league's competitive balance. Cunningham's ability to space the floor would give Clark unprecedented room to operate. Defenses would face an impossible choice: collapse on Clark and leave Cunningham open for deadly three-pointers, or respect Cunningham's shooting and watch Clark dissect them with her passing and scoring. It's a pick-your-poison scenario that coaches would have nightmares about. But that wasn't the whole story. The alleged roster doesn't stop at Cunningham. Rumors indicate the Fever secretly targeted another elite talent, a dominant force inside who would give them an unparalleled presence in the paint. This player, reigning MVP candidate, hypothetically for 2026, was seemingly courted through back channels, a move so discreet it completely flew under the radar of every other WNBA franchise. While the leaked documents don't explicitly name this player, perhaps intentionally redacted or hidden under code names, league insiders have been frantically speculating. Is it a versatile forward who can stretch the floor and protect the rim? A traditional post player who dominates the glass and provides the physical presence the Fever have long lacked? Or perhaps a two-way star capable of scoring at all three levels while anchoring the defense? What we do know from the leak is the compensation package discussed. We're talking about a supermax deal, the kind of contract that demands creative salary cap maneuvering and potentially sacrificing depth for star power. The Fever's financial team apparently ran hundreds of scenarios, exploring every possible avenue under the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement to make the numbers work. The sheer audacity of securing such a high-caliber player to pair with Clark and Cunningham paints the picture of a team built for an almost unfair advantage. This wouldn't just be a big three, it would be a perfectly balanced triumvirate covering every aspect of the game. Elite playmaking and shooting from Clark, defensive intensity and perimeter firepower from Cunningham, and a dominant interior presence from this mystery superstar. Sources suggest the Fever may have offered additional incentives beyond salary, equity stakes in team ventures, guaranteed post-career positions within the organization, even input into coaching decisions and roster construction. These are the kinds of promises that blur traditional lines in professional sports, raising serious questions about competitive fairness and league oversight. This leads us to the mastermind behind it all, the Fever's GM. The alleged exposure paints a picture of a general manager willing to play high-stakes chess, making moves that are both brilliant and, some might argue, shockingly premature to be revealed. The strategy involved aggressive cap management and perhaps even controversial promises to secure these stars well in advance, gambling on a future that now, thanks to this leak, stands exposed for the world to see. This GM, who took over the Fever's basketball operations just 3 years ago, came in with a reputation as an innovative thinker. A former player turned executive, they understood the game from multiple perspectives, but more importantly, they understood modern sports business, the value of star power, the importance of market timing, and the willingness to take calculated risks others wouldn't dare attempt. The leaked internal memos reveal a leader who studied NBA Superteam formations obsessively. From the Heat's Big Three to the Warriors' dynasty to the Nets' attempted superteam, every case study was analyzed for lessons. What worked? What failed? How could the WNBA's different structure and salary cap be leveraged differently? The research was exhaustive, almost academic in its thoroughness. But there's a darker element to consider. Some of the exposed communications suggest the GM may have been tampering with players still under contract with other teams, a serious violation of league rules that could result in massive fines, loss of draft picks, or even forced resignation. The timing of certain conversations, if proven accurate, would be damning evidence of negotiations with players before permissible free agency windows. It's a move that showcases an executive desperate for a championship, willing to push every boundary imaginable. The question becomes, is this visionary leadership or reckless gambling with the franchise's future? The answer may determine not just the Fever's fate, but could potentially reshape how aggressive front offices operate league-wide. The GM's previous moves now seem like chess pieces being positioned for this ultimate gambit, trading away future assets, declining to match certain offer sheets, and making seemingly puzzling roster decisions. All of it suddenly makes sense in the context of clearing cap space and maintaining flexibility for this massive 2026 push. The fallout across the WNBA would be immediate, and seismic. Rival GMs are allegedly scrambling, facing the terrifying prospect of this super team materializing. Emergency meetings have been called. Front offices that thought they were in a strong position for 2026 and beyond suddenly find themselves questioning everything. Fans are in an uproar, some ecstatic at the prospect of an unstoppable fever, others decrying the formation of a super team that could tilt the league's competitive balance for years. Social media has exploded with debates about parity, the spirit of competition versus entertainment value, and whether the WNBA should implement stricter rules to prevent such concentrations of talent. Every other franchise must now reevaluate its entire strategy, knowing it might soon face a truly unprecedented juggernaut. Teams that were planning modest improvements are now considering their own aggressive moves. The free agency markets for 2025 and 2026 have been thrown into complete chaos, with agents leveraging this news to drive up their clients' value. The New York Liberty, fresh off recent success, is reportedly exploring counter moves. Could they assemble a rival super team to compete? Las Vegas, with its championship pedigree, is said to be accelerating its own recruitment timelines. Connecticut, Seattle, Phoenix. Every contender is now in panic mode, trying to figure out how to prevent the fever from creating an insurmountable advantage. League office officials are in a difficult position. Can they intervene? Should they? The WNBA has always prided itself on competitive balance, but if all moves are technically legal, what grounds do they have to prevent this super team formation? Commissioner's office insiders suggest heated debates about potential rule changes. But any modifications would require approval from team owners and the players' union, two groups with competing interests. Television networks are reportedly thrilled. The potential for a dynasty, villain narratives, and David versus Goliath storylines represents pure gold for ratings and exposure. ESPN, CBS, and other broadcast partners are already envisioning promotional campaigns around the Fever's potential dominance and the league's desperate fight to stop them. Smaller market teams are particularly terrified. How can they compete for fan attention and resources when one team might boast 3 or 4 of the league's top 15 players? The competitive imbalance could be devastating for franchises already struggling with attendance and local television deals. And what happened next would shock everyone. How did these meticulously guarded plans get out? Was it an internal leak, a disgruntled employee, or perhaps a rival organization planting false information to sow chaos? The whispers suggest potential sabotage, an attempt to destabilize the Fever's carefully constructed empire before it even had a chance to fully form. The investigation into the leak has become its own drama. The Fever organization has hired a private security firm specializing in corporate espionage to trace the source. Every employee with access to sensitive documents has been interviewed. Digital forensics experts are combing through servers, examining metadata on leaked files, and tracking unusual data transfers. Initial theories pointed to a disgruntled assistant GM who was passed over for promotion, an individual with access to high-level strategic documents who supposedly felt undervalued and unappreciated. But that narrative crumbled when the assistant provided an airtight alibi, and their digital fingerprints were nowhere on the leaked materials. The next suspect was a rival team scout who had briefly worked within the Fever organization. Could they have maintained access to internal systems? Did they steal documents before leaving? But again, the evidence didn't support this theory. The leaked materials contained information from meetings held months after this person's departure. A more sinister possibility has since emerged. What if the leak was internal, orchestrated by someone within the organization who disagreed with the super team strategy? Perhaps a coach or executive who believed in building through the draft and development, and saw this aggressive approach as antithetical to basketball's true team spirit. This theory has gained traction, particularly as additional details suggest the leaker had intimate knowledge not just of the plans, but of the internal debates surrounding them. The motive remains shrouded in mystery, adding yet another layer to this already explosive revelation. Was it conscience, revenge, or competitive sabotage? Or could it even be a calculated move by the GM themselves, a strategic leak designed to force certain players' hands and create public pressure that might actually facilitate the deals they wanted to make? Some conspiracy theorists even suggest the league office itself might have been involved, subtly ensuring these plans became public to create the backlash necessary to justify new restrictions on team building. While this seems far-fetched, the timing of certain league policy discussions has raised eyebrows. The leak has also exposed personal relationships and behind-the-scenes dynamics that were never meant to see daylight. Texts between players and executives, salary negotiation strategies, even psychological profiles created by the team's analytics department, all now public. The breach of trust is enormous, and rebuilding confidentiality within the organization will take years. But what about the players themselves? Caitlin Clark has remained publicly silent, but sources close to her suggest she's both excited and overwhelmed by the magnitude of what's being planned around her. She came into the league wanting to win, but is she ready to be the centerpiece of this kind of operation? The pressure would be immense. Sophie Cunningham, for her part, has issued a carefully worded statement through her agent, neither confirming nor denying the Fever's alleged pursuit. But those close to the situation say she's intrigued. The opportunity to be part of something historic, to compete for multiple championships, is undeniably tempting. Yet there's also loyalty to Phoenix to consider, relationships with teammates, and the risk of public backlash if she's seen as chasing. The mystery MVP candidate, whoever they are, now faces an impossible situation. If their identity becomes public, their current team and fan base might turn on them before they've even made a decision. The premature exposure has potentially poisoned a well the Fever spent months carefully preparing. Other Fever players currently on the roster now face uncertainty. Will they be traded to make cap room? Will they accept reduced roles to accommodate superstars? Several role players have quietly hired new agents, preparing for the possibility of becoming collateral damage in this grand scheme. Around the league, players are having private conversations about what this means for competitive balance and their own careers. Should mid-tier players seek out super teams for a chance at championships, or stay with their current squads where they hold larger roles? The philosophical debates mirror those that consumed the NBA during various super team eras. The Players' Union is watching closely. They want their members to have freedom of movement and maximum earning potential, but they also recognize that excessive concentration of talent could harm the overall health of the league, potentially reducing the total pool of money available for contracts. Let's talk numbers. The financial gymnastics required to make this roster work are staggering. The WNBA's salary cap, while growing, still demands creative management to field 3 max-level players plus competent role players. The Fever's financial team has apparently mapped out a multi-year plan leveraging bird rights, trades for cap relief, minimum salary exceptions, and possibly even players willing to take slight discounts for the chance at championships. But there's a bigger financial picture. The Fever's ownership group, which includes several billionaire investors, is apparently willing to operate at a significant loss in the short term for the long-term gain of a championship dynasty. The value of the franchise would skyrocket with sustained success, making current losses a worthwhile investment. Sponsorship opportunities would explode. A team featuring multiple superstars in a market like Indianapolis could command premium rates from national brands eager to associate with winners. The Fever has reportedly already held preliminary conversations with major corporations about becoming presenting sponsors, contingent on competitive success. Television revenue would increase substantially. More nationally televised games mean greater exposure and higher rights fees. The Fever could become the WNBA's premier draw, the equivalent of what the Lakers or Warriors represent in the NBA. That rising tide could lift all boats, potentially benefiting the entire league financially. However, there are risks. If the super team fails to deliver championships, the financial commitments could be devastating. Dead money on contracts, a lack of tradable assets, and damaged credibility would set the franchise back years. It's truly an all-in gamble. WNBA history has seen dominant teams before, but never quite like what the Fever are allegedly planning. The Houston Comets' 4 consecutive championships came from a core group that grew together. The recent Las Vegas Aces dynasty was built through smart drafting, supplemented by free agency, not wholesale super team construction. This Fever plan represents